Today we're going to tell you about the seasons. A season is a division of the year marked by changes in weather, ecology, and the amount of daylight.
Seasons result from the Earth's axis of rotation being tilted with respect to its orbital plane by an angle of approximately 23.4 degrees. This tilt is also known as obliquity of the ecliptic. Four temperate and subpolar seasons, winter, spring, summer, autumn, and fall, regardless of the time of year, the northern and southern hemispheres always experience opposite seasons. This is because during summer or winter, one part of the planet is more directly exposed to the rays of the sun than the other, and this exposure alternates as the Earth revolves in its orbit. For approximately half of the year, from around March 20th to around September 22nd, the northern hemisphere tips toward the sun, with the maximum amount occurring on about June 21st. For the other half of the year, the same happens, but in the southern hemisphere instead of in the northern, with the maximum around December 21st. The two instants where the sun is directly overhead at the equator are the equinoxes. Also at that moment, both the North Pole and the South Pole of the Earth are just on the terminator, and hence day and night are equally divided between the two hemispheres. Around the March equinox, the northern hemisphere will be experiencing spring as the hours of daylight increase, and the southern hemisphere is experiencing autumn as daylight hours shorten.
Compared to axial tilt, other factors contribute little to seasonal temperature changes. The seasons are not the result of the variation in Earth's distance to the sun because of its elliptical orbit. In fact, Earth reaches perihelion, the point of its orbit closest to the sun, in January, and it reaches aphelion, the point farthest from the sun, in July. So the slight contribution of orbital eccentricity opposes the temperature trends of the season in the northern hemisphere. In general, the effect of orbital eccentricity on Earth's season is a 7% variation in sunlight received.
Meteorological seasons are reckoned by temperature, with summer being the hottest quarter of the year and winter the coldest quarter of the year. In 1780, the Societas Meteorologica Palatina, which became defunct in 1795, an early international organization for meteorology, defined seasons as groupings of 3 whole months as identified by the Gregorian calendar. Ever since, professional meteorologists all over the world have used this definition. Therefore, for temperate areas in the northern hemisphere, spring begins on March 1st, summer on June 1st, autumn on September 1st, and winter on December 1st. For the southern hemisphere temperate zone, spring begins on September 1st, summer on December 1st, autumn on March 1st, and winter on June 1st. In Australasia, the meteorological terms for seasons apply to the temperate zones that occupies all of New Zealand, New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, the southeastern corner of South Australia, and the southwest of Western Australia, and the southeast Queensland areas south of Brisbane.
Astronomical timing as the basis for designating the temperate seasons dates back at least to the Julian calendar used by the ancient Romans. It continues to be used on many modern Gregorian calendars worldwide, although some countries like Australia, New Zealand, Pakistan, and Russia prefer to use meteorological reckoning. The precise timing of the seasons is determined by the exact times of transit of the sun over the tropics of Cancer and Capricorn, for the solstices, and the times of the sun's transit over the equator for the equinoxes, or a traditional date close to these times.
6 ecological seasons can be distinguished which do not have fixed calendar-based dates like the meteorological and astronomical seasons. Oceanic regions tend to experience the beginning of the hibernal season up to a month later than continental climates. Conversely, prevernal and vernal seasons begin up to a month earlier near oceanic and coastal areas. For example, prevernal crocus blooms typically appear as early as February in coastal areas of British Columbia, the British Isles, but generally don't appear until March or April in locations like the Midwest USA or parts of Eastern Europe. The actual dates for each season vary by climate region and can shift from one year to the next.
In the tropics, where seasonal dates are also vary, it is more common to speak of the rainy or wet or monsoon season versus a dry season. For example, in Nicaragua, the dry season, November to April, is called summer, and the rainy season, May to October, is called winter, even though it is located in the northern hemisphere. In some tropical areas, a 3-day division into hot, rainy, and cool seasons is used.
Any point north of the Arctic Circle or south of the Antarctic Circle will have one period in summer called polar day, when the sun does not set, and one period in the winter called polar night, when the sun does not rise. At progressively higher latitudes, the maximum periods of midnight sun and polar night are progressively longer. For example, at the Military and Weather Station Alert, located on the northern tip of Ellesmere Island, Canada, about 450 nautical miles from the North Pole, the sun begins to peak above the horizon for minutes per day at the end of February, and each day it climbs higher and stays up longer. By March 21st, the sun is up for over 12 hours. On April 6th, the sun rises at 5:22 UTC and remains above the horizon until it sets below the horizon again on 6th September at 03:35 UTC. By October 13th, the sun is above the horizon for only 1 hour 30 minutes, and on October 14th, it does not rise above the horizon at all and remains below the horizon until it rises again on February 27th. First light comes in late January because the sky has twilight, being aglow on the horizon for increasing hours each day for more than a month before the sun first appears with its disk above the horizon. From mid-November to mid-January, there is no twilight.
Spring begins on the spring equinox on March 20th or 21st. Summer begins on the summer solstice on June 21st. Fall, also known as autumn, begins the fall equinox on September 22nd or 23rd. And winter begins on the winter solstice on December 21st or 22nd. Thank you for watching this Adventurous Kids episode.